Good evening. A Supreme Court appointed panel of experts examining India's regulatory mechanism in an investigation linked to the Hindenburg allegations has said that prima facie there has been no price manipulation on the part of the Adani Group and that the conglomerate has taken steps to comfort retail investors. It's also said that it appears that there was no regulatory failure on the part of SEBI, that's the market regulator. The experts committee comprises of domain experts has also said that the mitigating measures taken by the Adani Group had helped in building confidence in the stock and that the markets and the stocks of the Adani Group were now stable. Well, joining us now, the senior Supreme Court lawyer Ryan Karanjawala. Thanks, Mr. Karanjawala, very much for being with us. What are the implications, Mr. Karanjawala, of this report on the Adani Group?
Well, for the Adani Group today, it is a happy day because essentially they have been cleared of any wrongdoing whatsoever. There were three things on which the committee had to look into: whether the Adani Group had maintained its minimum public shareholding, whether the disclosure of transactions with related parties was in accordance with law, and was there any stock price manipulation. They've said that there is no stock price manipulation whatsoever by any member of the Adani Group. They've gone ahead and said that the standard of minimum public shareholding has been adhered to. And they've also said that as so far as the disclosure of transactions with related parties is concerned, the same has been in accordance with law. So for today, for the Adani Group, it's a very happy day. You yourself had pointed out in your introductory remarks that they have also gone ahead and said that the Adani Group has in fact, apart from continuing with its normal course of business, gone ahead and taken certain steps to mitigate and to ensure that investor confidence is restored. So that is in short, in a summary, what has happened as far as the panel is concerned, the Supreme Court committee panel is concerned. It's a very eminent committee, and all credit to it that it's been able to stick to its deadline despite their busy schedules and has given the report to the Supreme Court as and when it was required to do.
Mr. Karanjawala, all of this, the entire Hindenburg fiasco has affected market sentiment. It's affected the confidence of those looking to invest in the Adani Group. It's shorn off wealth from those who have actually done that, not just the Adani companies themselves and what they have lost. Do you believe that there is enough in this report to restore confidence of potential investors in the Adani Group?
Well, it's certainly one step forward. Now, I'm not a market expert. I don't know really what the situation is as far as the detailed company runnings are concerned, as to whether one can say, well, confidence is completely restored. But certainly, today is a day when the Adani Group can sit back with a sense of relief and be justified that what they had always said has in a sense come true.
Mr. Karanjawala, one final question to you. And it's not quite a political question, so you will please bear me out. In our country, we don't, several political leaders across political lines do not wait for a legal process to happen. They score political points even when there is a process underway. We've seen this in the past with Rafale, and we are seeing this now in an entirely different context. The Supreme Court, let's have a special committee, but that has not stopped our political leaders in raising this for weeks in Parliament. The implication is a lack of confidence for people in the country, instability in the markets, the loss of wealth, international reputation. Isn't this deeply problematic?
It is, but frankly, if you're a public figure of that size, then it goes with the territory. You know, nobody is going to say that, look, you have been alleged to have, just take it in an academic kind of way. Nobody's going to say that somebody's been alleged to have committed a crime and he says, no, you wait till I'm convicted before you can even talk about it. If you're in the public space, this will be what happens to you. There is no answer. It just goes with the territory.
So how important, in your opinion, was the remarks made by the Mauritian minister when he said that, look, the allegations which have been raised result in aspersions cast on the financial order of the Mauritius. And he says that based on their own investigations, the existence of these shell companies, etc., the allegations which have been made are unfounded. How important are those remarks, sir?
You must give the ministry of any country the respect that you give a minister of your own country when he makes a remark of this kind. Prima facie, at least, you should believe it. Unless someone is able to show absolutely proof to the contrary.
And a final question, just in terms of process, SEBI has been given a couple of more months. They will eventually come out with a report. And it is your opinion that that report may likely put an end to this entire issue one way or the other?
That's the drift. That's the sense I get. You must also know that at the moment, we have only had, because, the report just came out by the time we got it. Most of us have had occasion only to go through the executive.
Right. Yeah, I must admit, that's what I've done. Thanks, Mr. Karanjawala. Wonderful speaking to you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us with that perspective. Thanks very much indeed. All right. Well, who do we have at this stage? We've got Mr. PKD Nambiar who joins us at this stage. Mr. Nambiar, thanks very much for being with us. What are your thoughts at this stage, from a political standpoint? Perhaps Ryan Karanjawala wasn't the best person to have asked that question, but let me ask you this. In our country, our political leaders are impatient. They don't wait even if there is a legal process. How problematic is that to you?
In fact, this is what I was just, when you were asking the same question to Mr. Karanjawala, that the political system in our country has so impatient. They just jump that how our budget session was washed out only on the basis of a short seller from a particular country just come up with a report. Whether it is right or wrong, and that maybe time will tell. And today, of course, we got to know that there is much more than the real truth of what was being told to the world. And the people who were supposed to make money out of that, they have made it. I think one thing is very clear. I think the political parties, whether it is any party, I think they should be a bit more responsible. And every session after session from the last few years, before the session, there is some kind of a report comes up, and that becomes the, and most of our sessions are washed out over the last couple of years in a way. I think the time has come for all of us to come up with reports on other countries now, rather than we accept or we as if celebrate the loss of an enterprise or their share market, where we even forget the fact that there is a large amount of money of our own investors are going away just because of somebody's have got a hidden agenda against our country. So I'm not saying that it is all about just Adani as an organization. I believe that there is much more maturity our opposition parties needs to be showing. And I think I may go a step further, Vishnu, today that maybe Rahul Gandhi should have been just apologizing to the country that yes, he was making Adani means Modi. He was telling that Adani is India. Adani is, the country is sold to Adani. So many such remarks, not only inside the parliament, even the outside the parliament. I think the time has come for him to look back and see that there is something, a fundamentally strong regulatory bodies and one of the finest central bank in the world is in India. And I think there are times even irrespective of your political affiliation, your anti-establishment, but you should be proud of what we have, which has been created maybe his own forefathers as a Congress government. But I think let's take pride in our system. And today, this report, this 176 page, I had gone through a major portion of it. This clearly gives a feeling that we are a very strong economy. Our fundamentals with regard to the financial institution and management and the regulatory bodies are very, very strong. And they have been very, very actively monitoring everything. Imagine the word, you remember that LIC has been, the entire money of LIC is being pushed to Adani, and the Modi is paying money to buy it. But whereas the truth, everybody was known to that.
Okay, PKD, just half a second. Let me go across to the senior journalist Sanjay Singh with us. Sanjay, do you believe that this ends the political row, the political controversy which we've seen for several months now?
Vishnu, ideally yes, but unfortunately no. Because Congress so far had tried to milk this particular thing. Remember what George Soros had said. He had said Modi and Adani is close ahead of Modi, and their fate is intertwined. And he went on to say as to how Modi has to answer this in Parliament and how this is going to unleash a democratic revival in India. More so, Soros' credentials, and thereafter Congress was on the back foot. Also, the other fact, Adani is a known Hindenburg is a known short seller, and they make no qualms about it. They are very open about it, that they make money out of short selling. The question here is, why did the question that you were asking, why everybody was jumping the gun, not just the Congress party, but some of their allies, not all in opposition parties. Some exceptions were there, NCP, TMC, YSRCP, BJD as it is takes a very neutral position on some occasions. But yes, the kind of pressure that was built by the Congress and Rahul Gandhi, his party demanded a probe by the Supreme Court committee. And what was that Supreme Court committee? This is again very important. The composition of committee was very important. It was led by a former Supreme Court judge, Justice Sapre. Then you have very noted persons, experts from around the field, former SBI chairman, Infosys chairman, people, most noted banker in the country, and people about whom you had never had any doubt about their credentials, their competence, their independence, their commitment to a situation, to an issue. And therefore, when this particular report comes, I think it leaves no scope for further politicization. But we know that in situations like this, even in situations like this, what had happened during Rafale case, when Supreme Court had given a clear-cut order, Rahul Gandhi went on speaking about the same issue, and thereafter he had to apologize unconditionally, a written apology in the Supreme Court. So the answer to your question, ideally, yes. Unfortunately, this will continue for some time, at least till such time the Supreme Court makes the final hearing, because they already were casting aspersions about Supreme Court SEBI investigations, whereby they were asking as to why so much time was given to SEBI and so on and so forth. And also they did not accept earlier the SBI, the LIC, the RBI clarifications on the issue. So therefore the politicization, I don't think.
I think, Sanjay, the key point is there any way of measuring the cost of this politicization? It comes at a time when, the basic stocks have been affected so much, the wealth of investors has gone, reputation has been impacted, valuation of companies has plummeted, and the economy of our country has been hit. So how do you actually, is there any accountability for that? There isn't, and that's the tragedy over here. But Sanjay, thanks very much for sharing that perspective with us. Let's just listen in to what the senior lawyer Mukul Rohatgi had to say.
The report has found that there is no stock price manipulation by the Adani Group. It has also found that there is no violation of related party transactions. It has also found that minimum public shareholding requirements of SEBI are well maintained and there is no violation. SEBI investigation अभी और कर रही है, लेकिन आज का जो नतीजा है उससे ये साफ जाहिर है कि अडानी ग्रुप ने SEBI या और कोई कानूनी वायलेशंस स्टॉक मार्केट में नहीं की. And I am happy to note that Adani Group has come out unscathed in this report.
So what are some of the key points which have actually been mentioned in the report by the Supreme Court monitored expert panel, and what does it actually mean? We have this report.
The Supreme Court appointed panel has found no evidence of any regulatory failure when it comes to the part of the Adani Group in the recently submitted report by the group to the Supreme Court. Now remember, this was the time extension asked for by SEBI, and the report of the group was consistently cited in the Supreme Court hearings as well. So the report by this group assumes immense significance. No regulatory failure, one big thing. Now from an equity watcher's perspective, no evidence of price manipulation, which is a really big thing, which even market watchers who spoke to us post this note coming out or post this report findings being public, like Pankaj Budarka of Renaissance Investment Managers, have told us as well. The other big thing is the FPI beneficial ownership, wherein, yes, the final report from SEBI is yet to come, but the reports seem to suggest that they are very happy, or they are happy with the disclosures made by the Adani Group. Let me not add adjectives to it. Now, purely from an equity watcher's perspective, the way to think about it might be that the report culminates what has been a turn of events of sorts for the group at large, right? They managed to get in a very strong global investor in GQG. Their Q4 numbers were largely in line with what the fundamental analysts anticipated. They've announced a fundraising as well in a couple of group companies, shows the confidence. And now the Supreme Court report appointed committee has given them a clean chit. So in that sense, from an equity watcher's perspective, as well as maybe for the fundamental fortunes of the group, this is probably the biggest shot in the arm that has come in the recent months.
Well, the Supreme Court panel report on the allegations raised by Hindenburg now out an absolute clean chit to the Adani Group. Joining us now, Tehseen Poonawalla and Rajat Sethi. Rajat, let me come to you first. What do you believe, the report actually indicates, or what does it show?
Well, it's a 170 odd pages report, and I've just started reading it. But from the executive summary, it seems pretty clear that the expert committee has looked at various aspects of stock manipulation, looked at the empirical evidences that were out there, and has quite clearly come to the conclusion that there has been no attempts from any of the Adani Group companies to willfully manipulate the stock prices and harm the interest of retail investors. This was accusation number one, which was levied by a lot of senior politicians of our country. This expert panel, independent panel, which was constituted by the Supreme Court, has gotten into these details and has prima facie gathered all these aspects. One area where they have relied upon Adani Group's oath is that there has been no foreign portfolio investors which are connected to the Adani Group who have come in and invested in the stocks. So all in all, if you look at all these aspects which were the remit of this committee, it is a clear, clean chit. An important lesson for people in public life, especially our politicians, to not to jump guns on every issue. Let the experts do the talking, and they should avoid the eagerness without having all the facts at hand to come in and pass judgments on people based on insinuations.
Okay, Tehseen, let me come across to you first. Go through a couple of points and tell us about what you think about them. SEBI has not found fault with information that the Adani Group gave. No investment laws have been violated by the Adani Group, and there is no proof of illegal investments in Adani firms. So 3 key points over there. What is the significance of this?
Commissioner, thank you so much once again for having me on the show. And broadly, I agree with what Rajat has said, though most of the time I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. So point number one, this is of course the first step in, and the SEBI investigation still has to get complete. This is the first step in it, but it's a very important step because prima facie, this shows that there has been no wrongdoing. This also comes along with the very important statement that the minister in Mauritius made in his interview later on to you, Vishnu, which was an exclusive, where they said Mauritius, none of the companies in Mauritius are shell companies. So please understand that this attack by Hindenburg, a foreign entity, was not just on India, but was internationally, it was targeting a lot of markets. So Indians, of course, were affected, middle class Indians, poor Indians, but also in Mauritius, there was an effect to this. Number two, Hindenburg had a motive in this attack because they were short selling. They may have put that out, but it was a motivated attack. To that extent, I agree with Rajat that this should have been looked into more seriously. My grievance is more with the SEBI and the RBI. Look, politics and opposition will always raise questions, and that's the duty in a democracy. The question is, we are not a banana republic. So SEBI and RBI should have clarified ahead. When this report made damaging allegations on the Adani Group about shell companies, SEBI knew that these weren't shell companies, which Mauritius later clarified. This should have been done earlier. RBI should have said that there's no round tripping of money and therefore illegal money is not coming, as a result of which we wouldn't have seen the share price drop so much and poor investors, middle class investors lose value. Ultimately, Indians lost value. So I think we must tread with caution now that this is out. We must always hold up the maxim, you are innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around, that you're guilty until proven innocent. There's one point I want to make. A lot of attack was also made on SBI. Now you see the SBI investment in Adani share is only 1% odd. And SBI has profited most from the Adani Group. So these attacks must stop. These are robust institutions that have stood the test of time. So let's not, just run down these institutions. Have faith in the rule of law, and now we must have faith in the Supreme Court.
All right, let's just thank you both very much for joining us. Quick reactions from Rajat and Tehseen. Let me just go and give you a small excerpt of what the senior Supreme Court lawyer Ryan Karanjawala had to say. What are the implications, Mr. Karanjawala, of this report on the Adani Group?
Well, for the Adani Group today, it is a happy day because essentially they have been cleared of any wrongdoing whatsoever. There were three things on which the committee had to look into: whether the Adani Group had maintained its minimum public shareholding, whether the disclosure of transactions with related parties was in accordance with law, and was there any stock price manipulation. They've said that there is no stock price manipulation whatsoever by any member of the Adani Group. They've gone ahead and said that the standard of minimum public shareholding has been adhered to. And they've also said that as so far as the disclosure of transactions with related parties is concerned, the same has been in accordance with law. So for today, for the Adani Group, it's a very happy day. You yourself had pointed out in your introductory remarks that they have also gone ahead and said that the Adani Group has in fact, apart from continuing with its normal course of business, gone ahead and taken certain steps to mitigate and to ensure that investor confidence is restored. So that is, in short, in a summary, what has happened as far as the panel is concerned, the Supreme Court committee panel is concerned. It's a very eminent committee, and all credit to it that it's been able to stick to its deadline despite their busy schedules, and has given the report to the Supreme Court as and when it was required to do.
All right, Ryan Karanjawala speaking to us just a little while back. We'll take a short break, come back with the very latest.